This is the Rolling with Tay podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay, and this is episode 12. And then on this episode, we have Mr. Kevin Knight, the founder of the Urban Event Global Travel Agency, the owner of Black Travel Tube, and the new owner of Lone Star Speedway, located in Kilgore, Texas. Welcome to the podcast.
What's up? What's up? How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Man, I couldn't be any better. I'm actually in Houston at the moment, looking out the room. Game at Rice right now, so that's random, but that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing.
Nice. I'm actually in California right now. Just staring at a wall right now.
Okay. Hey, views. It's just different views, but no one's judging.
Oh man, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I've been following the Urban Camp Weekend Instagram page for a little minute. When I first came across it, I was like, what the hell is this? I'm so intrigued. Black people camping. I want to go. I started making like plans in my head to go. I've never been camping a day in my life, but I'm going to Texas. I'm camping. I haven't made it there yet, but I will one day.
You sound like a lot of my other friends. I'm going to come out there one day. I'm like, you realize no one's forcing you to say you're going to come. Just say you don't want to come. It's okay. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But no, we've been doing this since 2011, 2012. It started off as just one time a year. Now it's 2 times a year. So it's pretty fun. We have a lot of people from California, Florida, DC, New York, Chicago, a lot of different, like at least 38 different states are represented that I've counted over the years that travel to come out and visit with us. So it's pretty cool, in my opinion. My biased opinion. It's pretty cool event. The largest camping trip of its kind in the country and that the country's ever seen. And we're doing it twice a year now, June and October. So there's still opportunity for you to come out.
Oh, I'm gonna come out. Like listen. The type of person I am. Once I say it, I'm gonna do it. Now, when I'm gonna do it, that's a different story. But
right, okay.
I'm gonna do it.
Hey, as long as you do it at some point, and hopefully we're going long enough in the future to where you'll have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But strike while the iron's hot. It's definitely a fun event. People enjoy it. It's like I call it like a big family reunion. A lot of people, if you followed us on social media, or especially if you're on Facebook and you look in the Facebook group for Urban Camp Weekend, you'll see about 40,000 members in that group. And it just sounds like one big family, especially as it gets closer to the event. There's more activity, more people sharing pictures, updates, what they're bringing to camp. They're getting shirts made. It's like a big festival, so to speak. It just happens that 99% of the people there are sleeping outside in a tent Friday through Sunday.
See, that's what like sparked the interest. Like I had never seen that until I come across the page. And I was like, yo, this is so dope. Like, I want to do this. I was, like I said, I was getting excited. And then I was like, well, Tasia, you but slow down.
A lot of people are like, well, I've never, it's too hot for this. So I've never set up a tent. Like, it's not setting up a tent is so easy. I mean, there's an instruction manual, but there's also people there that will help you set up your tent. They're like, what about the showers in the restrooms? We have showers, we have restrooms. You're not out there stinking all weekend or anything like that. Like, come on, we're not savages, We have all the comforts of home. It's just for that weekend, you're sleeping outside. But it's fun. We have multiple DJs. We have a comedy show. We have an open bar all weekend long. We have different sponsors out there. We've had, alcohol sponsors out there. We've had Red Bull sponsors. We've had all kinds of sponsors out there. So you don't have to worry about alcohol, at least. That will always be taken care of by us. Even if we don't have a sponsor, we'll just go buy a bunch of alcohol. But the bars are all free. Everything's free once you get there. You just got to get there.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say this right now. If I don't come this year, I'm coming next year.
It's in writing. It's written. It's in concrete. it's in concrete. So we'll see. We'll see. If not, we have to revisit this podcast.
I know.
in 365 days and see where we're at with the planning.
Okay, so let's jump back a little bit, and I want to find out what started your traveling journey.
Yeah, so my mom, well, both my parents were in the military for 22 years, but my mom was a single parent. She actually was in for 22 years. And so I was born in Frankfurt, Germany, traveled my whole life. During the summers, I would travel to either South Carolina to go visit my grandma, or travel to Philly to go visit my dad or my dad's mom, my other grandma. So I was always traveling. We always lived places, 2 to 5 years max. We're always moving. So traveling just became second nature. Traveling alone, I probably started traveling by myself in airports in fourth grade, I believe. I think third
Mm,
grade, I had a flight attendant, which you pay a little extra. They'll have like a flight attendant help you from gate to gate.
mm-hmm.
And then I think fourth grade, I was actually by myself, and I was flying from San Antonio, connecting flight to Dallas, and then Dallas to Philly. And then my other connecting flight was, I think, Philly to Atlanta, and then Atlanta back to San Antonio, which is where we lived at the time, just because it was too expensive. We didn't have that type of money. So if I want to go see my dad, then I kind of had to do it by myself, so to speak, on the flight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that kind of started the traveling journey, just having, just liking to travel, never stopped traveling. Even when I was in corporate America, I would always tend to have positions that had me traveling
Mm,
and use all my vacation time to go travel too. So traveling never really stopped. Um, what ended up helping me get started as far as turning it into a business, I would say probably with social media.
mm,
Um, when we just got done talking about Urban Camp Weekend, but it just started out as a weekend of me and some friends hanging out, and I posted some pictures. Meanwhile, I still have my corporate America job. This was just something I did on the weekend once a year, and it just kind of got bigger where a lot of my friends wanted to join, and it went from like 12 people to 50 people to 75 people to 200 people to 1,000 people to 1,500 people, up to 2,000 people, depending on the year and the campground I used. And so, as I posted more of the things that I was already doing in my personal life, people would always hit me and say, "Hey, I want to join next time you go. I want to join." So they started joining me on the camping trip. Then they started joining me on different vacations. And I'm like, this sounds like a business. And so I just kind of pivoted a little bit, changed some things around, turned it into a business. And now it's, at least according to USA Today, one of the top 5 adventure travel companies in the country, ever since the award has been given out. So that's 2 years in a row so far. But yeah, so we just travel, have a good time, bringing our people together. It's African American based,
mm-hmm.
our core audience is African Americans, even though anyone can join us. But 99.9% of our guests are African American. And we go to places like, Dubai, Cape Town, Thailand, Rio, Ghana, um, every Caribbean island you could probably think of. We just travel the world. And we didn't stop during the pandemic. We slowed down a couple of places like Barbados that we didn't travel to. But no, we kept traveling, we kept camping. So yeah.
Nice. That's dope. That's dope.
I think that answers your question. I don't know.
Yes.
I hope that answers your question.
Do you have a favorite travel destination?
I don't. I get asked that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Every destination has its own like flavor to it, its own
Mm-hmm.
learning. Because I travel, I don't just travel for like cool social media pics. I travel to like really meet the local people, get engulfed in the culture,
Mm-hmm.
and just experience life from a different angle, from a different point of view. And I think everyone in the world offers their own point of view. One is not better than the other. They're just different. I would say the trip that changed my life was December 26th of 2000. I went to Guanajuato, Mexico to study abroad for a semester. And the few weeks I spent there living with a family, going to school in Mexico with other students, with other exchange students, really like, one, I became almost fluent in Spanish at the time.
Mm,
Um, but it just gave me a new love, respect for just different cultures around the world, and just seeing the social economics of different classes of people. And the family we live with, obviously they had a lot of money because they housed exchange students. If
mm-hmm.
you house an exchange student, you have a decent amount of money, more than most in the local community. Or they wouldn't have paired you up with they won't pair you up with a family that doesn't have the means to make
Yeah.
to make it happen. And so, but when we leave that morning, we would go to school. and ride the bus, and you just see how the rest of the country lives. You're like, wow, like these are some of the happiest people I've ever met, but they're also some of the poorest people I've ever met. And to be able to be that financially poor, but spiritually in their soul, they were just very happy. It made me understand that happiness doesn't really necessarily revolve around money. Now don't get me wrong, money can solve a lot of problems and make
It can.
make things a lot easier. It
It
solves
can.
a lot of problems, but I was also able to see without it, you could still live a pretty happy life if you're connected with your family and your local community and your support system. You can still have a pretty happy life, but don't get it twisted though. Money does make things a lot better. I'll tell you that. It
Oh,
can make things a lot better.
oh, I know. I know. But money isn't everything, and like for me, just being outside, being with nature,
Hmm.
the simple things, riding a bike, taking a walk down the block, or hiking, that brings me happiness.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of how my company got started. I just like being outside. I just want
Hmm.
to go. Like as an only child, I don't mind being at home chilling. Like the pandemic didn't really bother me, but I live in Texas. Texas never really closed down, so to
Yeah.
speak. So it's not like we were like claustrophobic. Oh, I got to get out of the house. Like the pandemic for some reason skipped over Texas and Florida. Like people there just it just didn't really hit. And it's funny I say that as I'm looking over, like where I'm at in Houston right now is actually the medical, kind of like on the medical, what's it called? Ah, medical neighborhood. I can't think of it, but it's where a lot of our hospitals and stuff are.
Hmm.
So I say that kind of tongue in cheek. I don't want to like make light of the pandemic
Yeah.
and what happened and the amount of deaths that have happened. But what I'm saying from a big picture standpoint, Texas and Florida, you would think that the world never really stopped.
Hmm.
Especially in Houston. I think a couple of their day parties went viral. So but not that I'm proud of it, and I didn't host those events, by the way. But I definitely like to get outside, travel. Like you said, just getting outside, running, jogging, hiking, anything, skiing, snowboarding, traveling. I just like being out and about, and just enjoying the world. And so that's kind of the premise of the company: getting out, connecting people to other parts of the world, but also connecting and giving African Americans a space where they could travel comfortably and do the things that we want to do from our point of view. And that's another reason why I started Black Travel Tube, kind of like
Hmm.
YouTube, but TUBE, Black Travel Tube. It's a website you can go to and you can read blogs, look at videos, or see events from other travelers, other African American travelers, other African American business owners that also have travel
Hmm.
agencies. But you can pretty much type in any country in the world, and you'll see an experience from an African American person who either wrote a blog about it, did a YouTube video. And I challenge somebody to find a country that's not on that page, because we have a pretty large customer base that go there to upload their videos.
Mm.
And I would recommend, if you plan on going somewhere, whether it's Tulum, whether it's Ghana, Cape Town, Dubai, go to that website, type it in. It's kind of like the Black version of TripAdvisor. Um, but you can actually see it. Like you can see their take on it, their videos, the do's and the don'ts, the pros and the cons of traveling to these places. And I started that site a few years ago just for that reason, to not only just promote, my own companies, but for the people that are also in the industry that do what I do. They also have an outlet where they could post their videos and post their events as well. So something to bring the whole travel community together, as
Hmm.
opposed to siloed and separate, you know.
No, that's
And
really cool.
you could find my both companies, Urban Events Global or Black Travel Tube. You could find them both on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're on all the major social media platforms.
All right, I'm gonna follow Black Travel Tube. I already follow the other ones,
Hmm.
and that's really cool.
Yeah, the Black
Um,
Travel Tube page, it ended up last year, it got hacked. So this is our second page.
got you.
Like we got locked out of the other one for some reason, and I just didn't go through all the steps, I guess, to try to get it back. Um, so I need to do that. But we have a second page up, so it doesn't have as many followers as the original one, which still only had like 30,000 followers. But it was a lot over the course that we had gained in that short amount of time of having it up,
Yeah.
of like a year and a half, 2 years. Um, but it's all good. It's not a big deal.
You know what? I actually do remember Black Travel too, because I think you guys did some promo to promote it.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah,
Yeah, and then I was like, all right, cool. And then I did follow it, and then
and it just disappeared on you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what happened. It just disappeared. We're like, damn. It was a lot of momentum too. It was a lot of momentum. We were featuring a lot of travelers, a lot of people, and I
Mm-hmm.
guess when the pandemic happened, and people slowed down traveling. I just didn't make it a huge effort um to fight to get the page.
Yeah.
So many other things at the time. And I was like, well, let me get a handle over this pandemic first. Like, let me
Mm-hmm.
see, do we have to cancel any events? So the world was moving at a faster and slower pace during that time frame, fast in some areas and very slow in others. Um, but needless to say, the Black travel space, we have a pretty good hold or grip on it. And, people know who we are, and we just have a lot of fun when we travel.
It looks like it.
Yep, 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 yep. No, we have a good little time. I should probably do more documentation, but then I don't want to take away all the fun. If we show you
Yeah,
everything in the videos, then we've showed you everything. So
yeah.
we leave a lot out. We'll show like little teasers, but it's when you go and experience, you're like, oh man, this was okay. Now I get it. This is this, and a lot of our people end up traveling with us to all of our other destinations, and then some of them will come back to do the same destinations more than once, so they can see more the next time.
Mm. Have you seen an increase since the pandemic of, say, the urban camp weekend? Have you seen more people come out because now people want to be outside more and want to be, like I said, in touch with nature, or just travel more?
Our Yes and no. Our numbers have been pretty consistent,
Mm-hmm.
even during the pandemic. We didn't see a major slowdown in our events. So, especially for like our Labor Day event in Tulum, I think so many people wanted to travel last September, where we just had a lot of people that came out. We have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that's signing up for this year to come as well. So it's really hard to tell. Um, because I know when the pandemic first happened, or at least let's say March of 2020, we started getting some phone calls from people who wanted to transfer their camp tickets to like the next event.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but just as many people who transferred, we had other people that wanted to like take their
Wanted to do
spots.
it.
Yeah, so our numbers still like matter of fact, I think our highest grossing tickets probably was camp of like 2021, June of
Mm-hmm.
2021. Um, and then June of 2020, the year that the first year of the pandemic, we stopped promoting it months in advance. Like we didn't do a promo for that whole year. So if you knew about the event, you just knew about it. And we had over 1,000 people um, with no advertisement, because I didn't want to be seen advertising during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So with no advertising, so the event still went on, and it's an outdoor event, so technically you could socially distance
Yeah,
6 feet apart if you choose to. But some people are just like, hey, I'm outside. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm not making it mandatory for people to socially distance.
mm-hmm.
Like I told somebody on the phone, you could just not come. I mean, like you're an adult. You can just decide to not come. If you're worried about the pandemic, then stay in the house, and that is okay.
You
You
right.
know, just stay home. Like I'm not trying to convince. Like I think
Yeah,
I don't know if she was trying to ask me to convince her why she should go, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like
yeah,
people are
yeah,
dying. I'm not going to convince you to go. You're an adult. So that you do what you decide to do. But we'll be here.
yeah,
We'll be here if you decide to go. We'll be here if you decide to stay at home.
yeah. People do whatever's comfortable to you, what you feel
Yeah.
comfortable with.
Exactly. One thing people are going to do is people will do what people want to do. Like
Exactly,
the people
exactly.
people are going to people. Like I'm at the age now, it's very hard to let me down. Like people are going to people. Whatever you think people are going to do, they're probably going to do it. Don't say, oh, I can't believe they did that. You should start believing it, because people are going to people at all times. They're going to make decisions that are beneficial to them. So get over it.
Exactly, and especially if you know these people.
Exactly. People are going to people, so just let people. Let people do what people do.
So, why did you choose to do the urban camp weekend 2 times a year instead of one.
Okay, so it used to be one time a year, and then I want to say, was it 2015? Maybe 2015, 2014, one of those 2 years, people kept asking for more. They're like, we can't wait another year for this event.
Mm.
Is there something in the fall? And I'm like, look, people, I got stuff to do. Like, I have a real job. You know what I mean? Like this was just like something I did in the summertime. This wasn't something I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to like build a business on. Like, so at first I was like, nah, we're good at just one time a year. I said, there are certain events that are just one time a year: Super Bowl, Essence Festival, Coachella. Like, they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
There's just, it's once a year. Like, get over it. It's once a year. They're like, nah, but we want to do it twice a year. So I was like, fine, we'll do it during Halloween. So then we did it one Halloween. About I'd say about 600-700 people showed up. I was like, okay, I guess these people really want to. I guess they really want to camp in the fall. And so, and at the time, the it was way more profitable for me to do it in the fall because campgrounds are slow in the fall and they need the
Mm.
business, so they don't charge you as much to rent their facilities, right? Because you're renting the whole campground, right?
Gotcha.
And so, that whole campground can cost you, depending on where you're going, $10,000 to $60,000 for a weekend, depending on where you're camping at, what season, whether it's summer, fall, spring. And so I was like, well, I know all campgrounds across the United States are very slow in the fall. So they
Mm-hmm.
offered me a pretty good deal. So I was like, man, they charged me almost $30,000 less in the fall.
Mm.
So to me, that's a $30,000 win right there. If I'm not spending it on that and I'm getting the same crowd, then I technically make more money in the fall.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, this fall thing's not a bad idea. This fall thing's a pretty good idea. And so that's why we started doing it in the fall. And the numbers have been pretty consistent. Usually the summertime, whatever numbers we have in the summer, we'll have probably like 80 to 85% of the same numbers in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So the summer is still the flagship big event, but there are some people who prefer the fall because of the weather. But the
Yeah.
weather in Texas can be real unpredictable in October. Like October, the end of October is a very tricky time period because it can easily be like one weekend it can be like 80 degrees, the next weekend it can be like 20.
Mm-mm.
And I've seen that happen. Like, I've seen like yeah, fall. That's one thing about fall. It's so unpredictable. The fall we did during the pandemic, people were actually in the water, so that it was warm.
Okay.
But that next weekend, it was like 40 degrees outside and cold. So Central Texas in the fall, very unpredictable.
Give me the 80-degree weather. I'll take that.
Exactly. The best weather, and I don't want to jinx this, but we typically do really well in the summertime. Summertime is just fun. It's just good weather.
Yeah. Yeah. And what are the dates? Or have you decided the dates yet?
Yeah, you would think I would know them by heart. I don't. It's June 20. It's June 20 something. I want to say it's like the fourth or third weekend of June this year, and then the last weekend of October.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's on our website though, on urbanaventsglobal.com. Events has an S in it, so urbaneventsglobal.com. Um, I want to say June 26th for some reason, but I don't know. It's on the website.
All right. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the show notes.
Yep. And also, like, when people say, what do I pack? What do I like? All their questions are literally right there on the page. We have a packing list. We have information about RVs. If you want to rent an RV, have it delivered. There's like websites like RV Share that'll bring the RV to the campground for you and set it up.
Mm.
So all you have to do is just show up. Um, and so we usually have about 50 to 60 people in RVs, but 99% of people are sleeping outside in a little small tent. And they kind of build their own little areas up, have their pop-up tents, pop-up tables, chairs, and they just come enjoy.
Listen, I'm sitting here smiling. Like I'm getting excited.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
getting excited.
yeah. Whenever you get bored, just go to YouTube and type in Urban Camp Weekend, and you'll see at least 20 different videos, 30 different videos from different years. And it's very consistent, a very happy, joyful crowd of people just hanging out, just enjoying life, dancing to music, have some adult games like tug of war and stuff like that, playing, the big Jenga games, Connect Four. It's just like adult fun. There's no other way around it. Kickball. Um, yeah, it's just a bunch of fun.
Yeah, and like I said, it seems like it. And I also see like in the mornings you have like yoga and different
Uh-huh.
types of exercise.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's an
Yep.
array of things that you can do, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. We'll do like we usually start off with like boot camp for the people who want to wake up early. I'm not one of them, but it's there. It's there. I usually wake up around the yoga time. It's when I'm like getting out of the bed,
Hmm.
and so when I walk out there, they're usually doing yoga at that point. But yeah, we always try to add some type of like good fitness and stuff in there. We've had like self defense classes in the morning.
Mm.
Anything physical, we typically get done during in the morning. Um, yeah, in the morning, and so yeah.
Oh, that's really dope. That's really dope. Um, I was gonna ask you something. Oh, so is it usually in the same? Do you usually try to do it in the same campground
Oh,
or?
that's a good one. That's a good segue into my next business venture. So, it used to be for many years in Central Texas at a campground that we used, and then they a couple of things happened. One of which they started getting more expensive because they wanted to like get into our profits, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So they started getting more expensive. They weren't really consistent. Um, and I felt like, most campgrounds and RV parks aren't geared towards African Americans. So,
Mm-hmm.
and they're usually located in like off the beaten path, which at the time let's just call it Trump country, right?
Yeah.
And so I started seeing some things that I didn't necessarily agree with from a principal standpoint. Now, in the back of my mind, I was already looking for and trying to find other campground locations. And I found a couple, but they still didn't really hit, what I needed. But at the end of the day, you're at the whims and wishes of that facility,
Mm-hmm.
and whether or not they want to allow your people in for a whole weekend, right? And that's going to be the challenge with anybody, with any African American organization that's bringing a lot of people. They want to know, like, well, who are you guys? Like, what's your resume, so to speak, yada yada. And you're almost like kissing their butt to rent out their facility.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew at some point I was like, I need to find my own land and build my own campground, so I don't have to knock on these doors anymore. And so this will be the first year that it's in Kilgore, Texas.
Mm.
The last fall, let me see, was it August of 2021? Me and a partnership I created bought Lone Star Speedway, which sits on 55 acres of land in Kilgore. At the same time, we also bought an RV park that was
Mm.
attached to that land. So we bought an RV park, we bought the racetrack, and then we bought a barnuminium, which is basically like a barn home. It's like a two-story barn home. It's actually pretty nice. Sounds weird. I've never heard of a barnuminium.
Me
Hey,
neither.
hey, look it up later. But they exist apparently, and they're becoming more popular. There's a lot of things I never heard of until I purchased this random piece of property in East Texas. And so we bought it, 55 acres of land, which is twice the size of any campground we've ever used.
Mm.
And so we'll be hosting a campground there at the African American owned Speedway in Kilgore, Texas. So
Hey,
there you go.
congratulations. That's
Thank you.
nice.
Thank you. So we own a 3/8 mile dirt track, which they're actually having an event there today. We have some guys that are, they call it a test and tune, for the race car drivers to go there and kind of like test out their equipment on the track. So I'm allowing them to do that now, even though I'm 3.5 hours away. and and so they have that going on. We had a monster truck show that was on the front page of the paper there last weekend. So we're using that facility to host events. So now I'm on both sides of the coin. So
Hmm.
I actually have to write a contract to rent the track for myself. Um,
Oh.
so the terms will obviously be way more favorable than they have been in the past
Yeah.
for the business. But yeah, we're excited about that venture, to actually owning, a piece of land, building it out. We're going to be adding some more RV spaces there, adding some tiny homes to the
Oh,
property,
nice.
and really trying to fix it up. It needs a lot of it. Probably, honestly, it probably needs another, like, I would say $600,000-$700,000 worth of like improvements to make it to where I want to present it to people. But we're gonna get there. You know, I don't think I need to do it all at once.
Yeah.
It's just like it's really just cosmetic stuff. Like 80% of the improvements are just cosmetic improvements. It's not like functional. Like functionally, everything works. But some stuff is just old, or like the concession stand stuff just needs to be thrown out and start from scratch. So little stuff like that. We can still host events there. We just can't use certain parts of it, and it's not, you know, and technically it's not even necessary to use certain parts of it. We can still make do with having thousands of people there without using the indoor concession area. We can still use the outdoor concession areas. So just little stuff like that.
Man, I'm just so like excited for you. like you're one of my family members or my friends. Like, yes,
Yeah,
I'm rooting for you. All right.
I
Just know
appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. We've gotten a lot of local support from our friends, family members, and just everything that we're trying to do is for our community, right? And it's for our people, and it's just our little small way to give back and try to make and leave our footprint.
Yes.
And we won't be the first or the last to do, you know, things like this. It's just a matter of just continuing to do what we can, our little parts, and I think collectively, if everyone just does their little part collectively, we'll continue to see change for years to come. Obviously, you know, it's 2022. Change doesn't happen overnight. We've been going through change for hundreds and hundreds of years. We're going to continue to go through some changes, but at least we're making it easier for those that come behind us, like my 3-year-old daughter, Avery, you know, for those that come behind us, we're just making a path a little bit easier for them. And hopefully they take advantage of that path and create their own path and continue to create ways to advance our culture and our people.
Yes, I applaud all that you are doing for the community, for the travel space, for the outdoor space, you know, for all of
Spaces,
it.
all the
That's
spaces,
all the spaces
all the
that
spaces.
you're in, you're doing stuff for. I applaud you for that.
Hey, I appreciate it. I couldn't necessarily see, I couldn't have predicted any of this, you know, being in financial services, you know, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, private equity space for like 16 years. When I retired in 2016 and just started hanging out and traveling, I didn't necessarily see that coming. You know, I thought I'd retire a lot older from the financial industry and just kind of sit and chill or just travel, but not like what I'm doing now, which is a lot better than what I had originally planned. So I must say I'm enjoying the space I'm in at the moment.
Nice. As they say, goals.
Goals, and goals, and there's more. There's more goals,
Yeah.
but you know, you got to try to celebrate the small wins, and then
Yep.
keep on moving, then celebrate, and then keep on moving, and just don't get too comfortable. Always put in a little bit of work.
Yep. I 100% agree with you. Yeah. So I started following your Instagram page, and I saw the Lone Star Speedway, and I read your caption, and I was like, what? I have to now. I have to reach out, and I didn't know if you were going to say yes or no to this interview, and I was like, you know what? You know, I've been following him for a while, and his other pages. Just go for it, Tasia, because you know I want to interview people who are doing things that they truly enjoy in these spaces that they're in, and let other people know that you can be in these spaces, you can be in these outdoor spaces, you can you can own a raceway, you can go camping, you can do these things that we think traditionally we haven't been a part of, you know.
Right,
And when we don't see people that look like us, sometimes we get, you know, intimidated, or we're like, no, you know, that's not for us.
right.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with just like knowledge, right? Like there's a lot of
Yes.
stuff that we've been a part of, but we haven't been a part of it. We don't know we've been a part of it. Even like old school cowboys. Like
Yes.
there's a lot of black cowboys out there that are legitimate cowboys who paved the way for other cowboys in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's been black race car drivers before Bubba Wallace. There's been black, like we're there. It's just you're not taught these things in school, so you don't see it, or it's like,
Yes.
and if you don't see it, it just kind of goes away in in someone else's history books of
Yes.
unknown. But a lot of this stuff we've been doing. You just but it's not. You got to seek out that knowledge. It's not going to be hand delivered to us because it's not in their benefit to teach us everything about our own history. We got to teach ourselves.
Exactly. I remember, and this is not too long ago. um, I traveled to Kentucky, and I ended up in this cemetery. And I'm walking around the cemetery, and it's a black cemetery. And then I'm noticing on the headstones that majority of the people buried here were black jockeys. Then I look up black jockeys and how they dominated the sport. And I had no idea. And I was grown when I found this out. But like you said, unless you research and seek out this knowledge,
Hmm.
or or I'm from that area where it's like known, I, I had no idea. And when I came back, I was asking all my friends and my family, like, have you heard about this? Did you know? Most of them said no. Like, because we, like you said, we hadn't been taught that. So I completely agree with you. Like, we've
Yeah.
always been in a lot of these spaces, but you know, just faded away once we got pushed out.
Exactly, exactly. And that's how, and it will continue to happen that way if we don't push our own narrative at
Mm-hmm.
times. And that's why, being in corporate America, I was always probably the only African American person in leadership roles, right? I was the vice president of sales for a couple different companies, and anyway, I was always one of the only ones in the room. And that's why I made my company so, let's just say, so black by even by naming it the way I named it, which was intentional.
Yeah.
Urban Events Global. I wanted them to know from the get go who was walking into that room, or who this email is coming from. Right? Black travel tube. Yes, black people are traveling. Like that's what you're going to see. Like there's no hidden agenda. There's no, like, I say what I say. It's out there on the website. For minority owned businesses that want to come to my camping trip, I tell them, if you have a product to sell, like all you got
Mm-hmm.
to do is buy a ticket, and you can sell your product there. There's no vendor fees or anything like that for minority owned businesses.
Mm.
So you want to sell your little sunglasses, your little whatever. I say little, not to be disrespectful. I just say that about everything.
Yeah.
You want to sell
Mm.
whatever it is you're selling. Cool. Pop up a table, start selling it. Like it's whatever you make is what you make. Give people that platform so they can get their business off the ground, because I don't want to stand in the way of another person eating. I don't want to
Yeah.
stand in the way of someone else's dream when I already have a platform built. Like, what good is charging them a fee? Let's say I could charge them $1,000 fee to set up their stuff and sell it. That's just one more hurdle for them. They may not have
Yeah.
$1,000.
Yeah.
So I just say, hey, just buy a ticket like everybody else, and then we'll find you a space by the rest of the vendors, and you can sell your stuff. Cool. Going about your business.
Mm-hmm.
Like why be, why be in the way of another business potentially blowing up? And at some point, and I tell them all the same thing. At some point, when you blow up, just don't forget about us.
Right.
When you get big, don't forget about us. Hook us up. Give us
Exactly.
holler at your boy. Give me something. You know what I mean? Like, give me a free shirt or something. I take products. I take or some hair products. Lord knows I could use them. Something. So there it is.
Listen, you've inspired me. I'm sure you've inspired others, and then others who will listen to this podcast. Thank you again. Is there any last words before we wrap up?
No, not really. Just continue to continue to do what makes you happy. Hopefully, try to find a way to make it profitable. Just use social media as a tool, not just something that you waste time thumbing through all day, but actually study it. study what people are doing, what people are into, and get your business going that way. You know, if entrepreneurship is for you, or something that you're interested in, or just a hobby, social media could be your best friend, and that hobby may end up being a multi-million-dollar business one day.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all I got.
Nice. Thank you for the wise words.
No problem.
Thank you again for being a guest on the Rolling with Tay podcast. I'm your host, Tasia, aka Tay, and thanks for listening.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Want more Rolling with Tay podcasts? Well, follow on Instagram and Twitter at Rolling with Tay. Visit the blog rollingwithtay.wordpress.com for more content, and be sure to sign up for the monthly newsletter. And lastly, subscribe to the YouTube channel Rolling with Tay.